Hi friends, it's Amy. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you very belatedly my August 2021 wrap up. So let's get to it. In the month of August, I read, in the month of August, I read 17 books, 2 of which I was pretty much almost finished with. I mean, I was at least 50% through when the month started, but that's the way it goes. I read 6 physical books, 6 digital books, 7 audiobooks. So my physical and digital combined are more than audio, which is my goal, one of my goals. I read 17 fiction and 0 nonfiction, which is not my goal. My goal is to always have 1 nonfiction. I did not accomplish that, but I'm going to be okay with it because I've had a lot of months where I had more than 1. And one of the books that I didn't finish was supposed to be my nonfiction. So 6 of them were made for an adult audience. 1 was a YA and 10 were middle grade. 2 of the books that I read were rereads. I had 8 5-star reads, 4.5-star reads, 5 4-star reads, and 1 3-star read, which I keep vacillating between 3 and 3.5 stars for that one. My average rating was 4.5 stars. I read an average of 162 pages per day, and my books had an average of 295 pages each. The total number of pages I read was 5,026. All things I'm proud of. The first book that I read was Stowaway by John David Anderson. And when I say I read it, I finished it. I was pretty much 50% done with it before it ended. I absolutely loved this book. So good. It is a middle grade science fiction novel. I had it as an ARC from NetGalley. It follows Leo, who's lived on the spaceship Beagle since his dad was hired to help Earth and the universe test V. When aliens attack and kidnap his father, Leo stows away on a pirate ship to try to rescue his father. He doesn't know who's good. He doesn't know who's bad. It's just a ride the whole time, and it's fabulous. I just love it. The next book that I read, finally, that's been on my radar and on my to-read list for a very, very long time, was Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus by Dusti Bowling. And this follows Avon, whose parents are offered a job at Stagecoach Pass, which is like it's a theme village type place. And there's, like all of these old Wild West themes in it. And the people act like it's the Wild West when they're there. It's a lot of fun. Avon is a very bright student. The only thing that the thing that she has to deal with a lot is the fact that she doesn't have any arms. And she gets annoyed because people don't realize that she can do things. And I get why she's annoyed, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but these are people that have hands and can't imagine what that would be like without hands and without arms. And I get why people kind of act surprised and act like they don't think she can do anything because they are picturing themselves not being able to do anything. I thought it was interesting how she gets annoyed because people always would say, let me know if there's anything we can do. And she would get annoyed by that because in her mind, they were saying, because obviously you're going to need us to help you a lot. But really, I'm thinking, but I would say that to any time that I had a student that was brand new in my school, I would say, let me know if I can help you in any way. Let me know how I can help. Let me know what I can do. Let me know if you have any questions. So is there like a way that I could word that differently? It just kind of really made me think anyway about that. I did listen to that one and it was very good. I'm excited to read the second one, which is Momentous Events in the Life of a Cactus. And I'll get to that one eventually. The next book I finished was One Cold Summer by Robert J. Cowles. I did start this in July, and I was almost done with it, but I didn't quite finish it. I didn't want to rush it. This has to do with two brothers who reunite after their father's death. One has stayed in Door County, Wisconsin to help his father deal with life after their mom's passing, and the other one has basically took off and has just not been dealing with life back at home. And so they have a bit of trouble coming back together and having a relationship again. But it really deals with them figuring that out. There is a mystery involved, but it definitely is not all of it. So if you're looking for a thriller, this is not going to be the book that you would want to pick up. But if you're looking for a book that's a lot about family, that has a little bit of mystery and intrigue, this is a pretty good book for that. I really love that it takes place in Wisconsin. The next book that I read was a novella, and it was And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. This was for the Buzzword Readathon. The word was a time of day, so morning was what I was going for there. And it's by Fredrick Backman. It's my first Fredrick Backman, and it will definitely not be my last. His writing is absolutely beautiful. What I wrote is that it's an exploration of an old man dealing with Alzheimer's. It's so good and poignant, and deals with how he is telling his grandson what's happening to him and trying to come to terms with that. And it's just really beautiful. I love it. The next book that I read was Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This was one of my rereads for this month. I really love this series. I was rereading it as part of the Lunaralong hosted by Bookara and A Star Reads. And I just, oh man, I forgot how much I love that book. And they had a live show, which I couldn't go to because I was out of town. But I am looking forward to going back and watching it on replay. And I'll see if I can get that linked on to my video as well. The next book that I read was Say It Out Loud by Allison Varnes. This was an e-galley from NetGalley. It was so good. I really loved it. It's middle grade, has to do with anti-bullying, has to do with discovering who you are. It looked like I was doing quotes, but I wasn't. It has to do with discovering who you are. It has to do with theater. It has to do with overcoming challenges. It's beautiful. Charlotte is our main character, and she has kind of dealt with a stutter her whole life. When the more stressed out she is, the more she stutters, and she's just starting middle school. And so her parents encouraged her to join the theater arts class at her school so that she could find some more ways to kind of cope with that, with stuttering. And it's really helping. When she sings, she doesn't stutter, and she begins to love theater. It's really a beautiful story, and the friendships that she forms throughout the book are just beautiful. The different characters are really authentic, and I just really like it. It's definitely a book that I want to share with my students, and yeah, I've actually started it already with them, my 5th and 6th graders. So there you go. Next book I read was Mosquito Bite Murder by Leslie Langtry. This was a cozy mystery, if you can't tell from the title. I usually get an ARC of this series, but for some reason I didn't this time. And so I did purchase it because it's the Mary Wrath series by Leslie Langtry, and you can bet I'm going to read it. So this one is really fun. It actually has Mary and her troop going to this old Girl Scout camp to map it out for the council as part of an award. And when they get there, there are some 80-year-old Girl Scouts that stayed at the camp. So out there, but so fun. There's obviously a murder. It is not one of the old ladies. So if that would prevent you from wanting to read it. But it's so fun. It brings me right back to Girl Scout camp, and I could just picture the Girl Scout camp that I went to when I was younger, that I eventually worked at as an adult. It just, I loved it. I mean, that's what I pictured in my head the whole time. It was great. Next, I read The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. This was one of my 3 Krista made me read it books. I did make a video about them that I will link down in the description box. So I'm not going to talk a lot about them, but I loved it and I cannot wait to go on to the next one. World War II books are just really clicking with me. So this lately, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just the way it is. Ada is just a wonderful person. Jamie, her brother, is just wonderful. Friends are wonderful. Susan is wonderful. I can't. I'm sad now that I cannot read this book again for the first time, ever again. Anyway, the next book that I read was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This again was a Krista made me read it. And so again, it is included down in the video that's in the description. Of course, we have Bilbo Baggins, the Hobbit, who is unwittingly taken into this grand adventure, and it's whimsical and it's fun. It started out pretty slow for me, but by the end I was just really into it and I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read was Vision of Love by Kathryn R. Biel. This is a romance, and it's the second book in her Center Stage Love Stories series. It follows a former pop group star who is finding her second wind in the arts and singing and music, and it takes place at this theater. So the series centers around this theater near New York, but not in New York. And so this is the second book. And I lost her name, but she was part of this group that was like, it had a cat in the title. And so everything that they sang was a cat pun. All their songs. It was so fun to listen to. It was really fun. I really liked it. And yeah, I just really liked it. Vision of Love by Kathryn R. Biel. Then the next book that I read was another ARC from NetGalley. It was the middle grade Fast Pitch by Nick Stone. Nick Stone can write a story so well. I just love it. I wanted to read the story because of the fact that it was by Nick Stone, because it is softball, and I loved softball when I was in school. And this talks about Shanice is the main character, and her team is about to make history as the first all-black softball team to win regionals. And she gets distracted when she realizes that there's a secret from her past, or not from her past, from her family's past, that is kind of an embarrassment for them, and kind of a did he or didn't he do this kind of situation. And she gets distracted by it and wants nothing more than to figure out what the truth is in the situation. It's so good. The characters are authentic. And Shanice is a a spot-on character. And I love that a really great character that I've loved in the past, Scoob from Clean Getaway, does make an appearance in Fast Pitch by Nick Stone. Next, I read The Memory Keeper's Daughter by Kim Edwards. This is technically a Krista Made Me Read It, but not really. This was for Krista's Patreon book club. It was also my second and final reread of the month. I remembered liking this a lot more than I did. It was the very first book that I ever listened to in audio, and I listened to it on my way going to a summer school teaching job. I listened to it and I just remember really liking it. I gave it 4 stars in Goodreads, but listening to it this time, I just didn't love it as much. I don't know. It's about a doctor whose wife is expecting a baby in the 1960s. And when he ends up having to, through a series of events, he ends up having to deliver the baby himself. And it turns out it's twins. And when the second baby is born as a daughter, he sees right away that she has Down syndrome, and he hands it to the nurse and says, "You need to take her to this address, and I'll tell my wife later that that's what happened, but she's going to have to grow up in this home," which is kind of authentic as to what would have happened during this time, in a lot of cases. So the nurse is not able to do that, and she ends up raising the daughter as her own. So there are a lot of really beautiful moments in the book, but there's also a lot of moments in the book that are really cringy, and so I don't know, do with that what you will. I didn't hate it. I'm glad that I read it, and you may enjoy it. So there you go. The next book that I read was Anne of Green Gables. This was, of course, a Krista made me read it. I don't know if that's an of course moment there for everybody, but Krista made me read this. I talked about it a lot in the video that I will link down below. Man, I am so mad at myself for taking so long to read this book. Love it. Love it a lot. Just love it. That's all you need to know about that. Next book I read was Soul Lanterns by Shaw Kuski. I have absolutely no idea why this book was on my radar, but I had put it on hold in the library, and I ended up reading it in a library try a chapter video that I did, and I ended up keeping it to finish reading. And again, this takes place in World War II, during World War II, actually 25 years after World War II. It takes place 25 years after the bombing of Hiroshima. And it was just a really interesting look at, I didn't write down the main character's name. I hate it when I do that. It's a really interesting look at how the people of Japan were feeling the effects of the bombing for years and years after it actually took place. And it was very, very good. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a different World War II topic for me in the terms of what World War II books that I've been reading. So I would definitely recommend Soul Lanterns by Shaw Kuski. This was translated from Japanese. So the next book that I read, I listened to, and that was A Crafter Knits a Clue by Holly Quinn. This book was recommended by Danny at Spinelli Speaks. It was one of her 31 reviews. It was one of her 31 reviews during the month of July for her birthday. It is a cozy mystery that takes place in Wisconsin. The main character here comes back to her hometown to run her friend's store after she tragically passed away. The friend tragically passed away. And 3 years later, she's still working at the store. And now a murder in town leads her to investigate, because that's what you do in a cozy mystery. It's a lot of fun. I found the main character to be more unlikable than I like in my cozy mystery main characters, but I found enough other characters that I did find likable that made me not so annoyed, if that makes sense. I did enjoy it, and I do want to read the next one. So that is A Crafter Knits a Clue by Holly Quinn. Then 2 more. We're almost there. The second to last book that I read was Keeper of the Lost City, Exile. That is book 2 by Shannon Messenger. I bet you read this with Krista. So of course, there you go. There's another. Krista made me do it. This series just keeps getting better and better. I love it. Sophie, the girl who didn't realize that she was an elf in the first book, is now back in the second book. This one has an alicorn in it, which is a unicorn that has wings. And it just adds this great development into the story that is wonderful. And you're dealing with the events from the first book and the second book, so I can't get into it too much, but it's wonderful. I loved it. And then the last book that I read was I Can Make This Promise by Christine Day. This follows Edie, whose mom is a Native American who was adopted at birth by white parents. So she knows very little about her mom's heritage, but whenever she goes anywhere, she's constantly asked where she's from, because it's very obvious that she has Native American heritage. So it explores how much she wants to still know about her Native American culture and how much her mom was deprived of that Native American culture, because at the time her mom was born, it was common practice for Native American children to be taken from their families and adopted out so that they could be shown how to live properly. Definitely a part of history that I didn't know a lot about, and would like to explore more. It had some suspense and some mystery in it, and I really enjoyed the story. So that was I Can Make This Promise by Christine Day. So there you have it. Those are the 17 books that I read in August. They were so enjoyable. I had a really wonderful reading month, even though it was a little bit less than I usually do get to, and I didn't get to finish everything that I wanted to finish. That's fine. I would love to know what you read in the month of August. What was your favorite book that you read, and why does it resonate with you? I would love more World War II type books that explore a different part of World War II history, because I'm really just finding those fascinating right now. And so if you have any ideas on those, drop them down below. If you are not already subscribed, please feel free to do so. Please give me a like if you enjoyed this video, and I hope you find something wonderful to read. Until I see you again, happy reading. Bye!